Hi everyone, what I want to do in this video is make a box joint jig, and this box joint jig is going to look something like this that will slide up and down my table saw, and it will move sideways across for a distance of 25mm. I think the box joint gives us a very large gluing surface, and this will allow me to make a cabinet in a much thinner material. So I think it's stronger, more stable, and actually quite attractive. So I'm going to do it in two different materials. One's going to be a 6mm birch-based plywood, which is just shy of 1/4 inch, and I'll cut those out on my box joint jig. I'm also going to use 5mm plywood, which I'm going to cut out on the laser cutter. Other than that, both processes will be exactly the same. Let's get on with it. Well, that works. So what I'm going to do now is just raise these skis a little bit, and then I'm going to put my MDF on and just glue it on. So what I want to do now is glue the back on. Slide the jig up to the blade. This is what I want now to glue this onto the back. So I'm going to be careful to make sure. So that is square. And then I glue that up. And then at 90 degrees to the blade. So I'm going to actually go through to about here. So I've got a long length of my tri-square that I can put next to the blade to make sure it's perpendicular to the blade. Feed it into the blade. Put my tri-square onto the blade. That's looking nice. So looking at that tooth there and that front tooth there, and that is spot on. So just need to adjust this back. All looks good. So I'm going to let that dry overnight, and then I'll put some screws in from the back. So the glue's now dried. We can now remove everything. So I just found this old piece of MDF. It might have been a piece of old skirting board. It's got a nice painted finish. It's slippery, that might be helpful. I'm just machining that surface off so it's nice and flat. So the material we're going to use is this 6mm plywood. I want joints that are 25mm apart, running up the total length of the height of the carcass, which will be 700. Any smaller, I think I'll be cutting joints here forever. But 25mm is going to give us a very large gluing surface, and if I cut them accurately, I think it's going to be very strong. So my next job, nice straight cut here. I won't need a lot of wood, just maybe about that much, but it needs to be accurate. 25mm. It's 25mm. I just put a little memo on there for myself. It's 25.25. Doesn't matter. That will be the size of my joint. So what I want to do now is just notch out in this piece of MDF and recess that in and glue that to this piece of wood at a perfect 90 degrees. So that's what I'm going to do now. I think I'll do that by hand. Or shall I? Let's use the saw. And that's perfect, so I'm going to glue that in there. So before I do glue it on, I'm just going to take off the two top corners. Not much, just a little bit. That way when I'm passing the jig on, it's not going to bind on that edge. So everything's dried up now. I'm going to cut the MDF down so it's shorter than this backboard, and that will allow me somewhere here, I think, to put a stopper on, because I want to just allow that board to move 25mm. So what I want is, I put my key here, so this is the same piece of wood. From here I've kept that, and that is going to go onto here. So to explain where I am now, I put my key back on, bring it up to the saw blade, I've clamped a piece of wood onto there, taken the key, popped it into here, and then another clamp onto here. So I've been fettling a little bit with it, several cuts, and then just to show you how it does work, okay, that I've done one cut already. I've also got a reference line on my saw, so I'm going to push my jig up to that line. So it's not tight like a friction fit, but it's enough room there to put the glue in there as well. Fantastic. I'm getting close to where I want to be with the jig. So I'm within a millimetre. If I look at it, it's probably going to be good. But if I wanted to make a small incremental change, what I can do, I'm using a piece of card from a cereal box. So just for my first attempt to see how much tighter I can make the joint. And I'll run one through now, and then I'll take you through what it looks like. So I just run one pass through with the card as a spacer. It's still a bit tight. What I can do is take the card off and use even smaller incremental stages, and what I use, simple masking tape. Just make sure there's no dust, and there was some. Make sure there's no dust in that gap. Okay, and you can gradually build it up until you get the tightness that you want on your joint. So I'm there now, I'm happy. I know that 2 pieces of masking tape is absolutely perfect for my project. I'm now going to cut up my wood. I'm also going to introduce you to another method I use, which is on the laser cutter. This is a software package called 2D Design, and I've drawn it out on there to scale, and I'm going to export it as a DSX file to the laser cutter, and we'll cut that out and I'll show you what the issues are. My only issue with the laser cutter is it does leave a bit of a sooty edge. After all, it is using a laser to cut through the wood. However, it's quick. Using the laser cutter does produce a very accurate box joint, but it's only 5mm thick, the material, or 3/16. So it's still flexing, it's still moving, and it's not really appropriate yet as a cabinet. So what I'm going to do to stiffen the structure up is add some framing at the top and bottom and wherever the shelves go. I'm going to use beech. I'm going to machine this down a little bit more to make it lighter. Hopefully that will stiffen the structure up and provide an opportunity to introduce some drawers. So that's what I'm going to get on with now. This is the back of the cabinet, so I've cut the box joints out on the back. I've made up my rectangles, and now what I need to do is trim them so that they match the inside of the box joint. So, for example, I put my tri-square on there at the bottom of the box joint and bring the frame up. These are going to add all the rigidity and strength to the cabinet, and they need to match the bottom of the box joint on the other side. So if the rectangle is too big, what's going to happen is the sides are going to bow out and we're going to lose strength. If they're too small, which in this case this one was, then they're going to bow in and we're going to lose strength. It's going to be difficult to put drawers on and slide smoothly. So it's critical that they are matching the inside of the box joint. So I'm going to trim these up now. This one, for example, I took too much off, so I had to add another piece of wood, and we're going to trim these off now so they're all the right size. Using the box joint jig, I do get a nice neat finish. On the other side, however, this is the back. On the back, however, I am getting this chip out, and even if I put a sacrificial piece of wood on here, this very thin ply, or this very thin layer, is coming off the back. What I can do to avoid the chip out, just put a straight edge on the back, run my craft knife through, cutting through that top layer, and then I'm going to have to do that for each individual joint, and that would reduce chip out. In this first half we've looked at making a box joint jig, and we've made this top part of the cabinet. These runners or these ledges for the drawers haven't come up very well. I did take my time, I thought I was accurate, but when we glued up you can clearly see there's a bow, and if we were to put a drawer in there it would bind. So we're going to move on into the second half very, very quickly, go back to the van. I'm going to show you how they're going to fit into the van, but we're going to change the process and move on to the laser cutter. It simply cuts out very square, very quickly and very accurately, and I think that's the way to go with this very, very thin material. Thank you for watching. See you in part 2.